All right, guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today we're going to be breaking down Georgia, Florida, this Saturday afternoon in Jacksonville. Always one of the best rivalries year-round, regardless of how the teams are ranked. This year, it's number 1 Georgia against the 4-3 Florida team. It's fresh off a bye week, but before that, they kind of got beat down. They've lost 2 of their last 3 games, both coming by on the road by 1 possession. So they're not getting blasted out the water by any means. All 3 losses, that is, have come by just a couple of points. 14-point line in favor of the Bulldogs. We got a over/under of 51. And again, this one will be contested at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this one. Looking at this Georgia offense, the offensive line's been very physical this year. Both sides in the trenches they have. Mainly this left side on the offensive line, though. Justin Schaefer and Mary Slayer. These guys are massive. They're strong. They run for a little under 200 yards per game, but it's really a by-committee offense of sorts. Zamir White, Zeus is like to call him. He's a power back. He's also got some good speed. He's repped one off in the stadium before for a big, chunky yardage. I think it was last year that happened. You got James Cook in there as well. He's a dual threat running back. He can catch. He can run. Kendall Milton, he's second on the team actually in carries. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. Kenny McIntosh is also questionable, so depth could be taking a little bit of a hit here. They like to get everyone involved, mainly because they're winning these games by so many points. I think that might be, I don't know what they would do in a close game. I feel like it would just be White and Cook to get all the touches. We'll see. I think if both of those guys are out, we'll kind of figure out what that game plan would be, how they even up the touches on Saturday. That's going to be something interesting to find out. Brock Bowers at tight end. This guy's a beast, man. He leads them all. He leads the Bulldogs in all categories: receptions, yards, touchdowns. For a guy to be that big, to run as fast as he does, to have the hands he's got, he's going to be playing on Sundays here very shortly. Freshman tight end is a superstar. If you've not seen him play yet, just type in some of his highlights or just watch Saturday. I'm sure he'll impress you. Ladd McConkney, he's really stepped up at receiver because they're incredibly unhealthy. Georgia's really battled with injuries both sides of the ball. They've had no issues winning games. Stetson Bennett, he's playing very well. He's throwing accurate balls. He's an above-average game manager this year. Last year, he had his struggles in big-time games. This year, everyone feels a little bit more confident in his abilities, really showing good command of the offense, really good confidence. And if I didn't just mention his deep ball accuracy, it's been really good. He's not making mistakes. If the run gets slowed down, how will he fare? It remains to be seen. I don't know if we'll find that out at all this year. I don't think you'll find that out on Saturday. I expect this run to be very, very dominant. But regardless, this offense all around has been very good. They have 7 turnovers on the year, but they have 0 over the last 3 games, all against ranked opponents. So they've really sharpened up their weakness there in that category. All around, this Bulldog offense, very good. Looking at the Florida offense, Dan Mullen says both quarterbacks will play, and Emory Jones, Anthony Richardson. I mean, they need to let Richardson go, man. You see what he did against LSU, numerous scoring drives. He's clearly the more electric player with his legs. He makes better decisions than Emory Jones does, really. I mean, I know he had a bad pick against LSU at the end of the game, but limited game reps. I feel like if you split if Richardson had the same amount of reps that Emory's had over his career, I feel like you'd see a lot better play from him. So he's still a young guy. I think they need to let him go and be the starter in this game. I'm fine with Emory Jones playing because he's showcased before he can be effective in that backup role. But I think Richardson needs to get the start for them to have a chance in this game because Emory was not effective against LSU. Outside of that Hail Mary, if he doesn't have that, he's sitting around just north of 100 yards passing. He had those 2 picks, so he didn't do much of his legs in that game. It was just an ugly showing, really. If he would have played the entire four quarters, they would have gotten beat down pretty bad. You switch over to Anthony. I think it was 4 to 6 scoring drives, somewhere in there. I don't know the exact number, but they started scoring very well in that second half. It's a deep room of running backs for the Gators. They're the 4th-ranked running game in FBS. Struggled a tad bit in that Florida game. They kind of abandoned the run, I feel like, though. Naquan Wright, Malik Davis is the leader. He's very physical. Dameon Pierce. I like what they have in the backfield. This offensive line. These guys are massive. Very big unit. They're playing very well this year. So they could match up pretty well against the Georgia defense. Does that mean you're going to win that matchup? No, not by any means. But the more size you have, the better it is because these guys are incredibly aggressive. We'll get to the Georgia defense momentarily. But you can't really ask for more from what you got from up front, especially with how they've been playing this year. So I think they got a good shot up front. They have a receiver by committee as well, outside of Jacob Copeland. Justin Shorter, 6'5", he's a taller guy. Rick Wells, Trevor Whitmore, I think he's questionable for this game. They've really just been kind of spreading it out. Henderson gets involved a bit. But these guys won't have time to make much plays if the offensive line gets overwhelmed, because that's been the biggest problem this year is opponents have no time to make any plays downfield, and we'll focus on that more in a minute. But for this receiving group to even be a factor, they're going to have to block up front. They're going to have to do it effectively, bring in an extra running back or two if you have to, and that could be a good bet. Just load up a bunch formation, a couple tight ends, a couple running backs. Just do something. You can't just sit back there and let your quarterback get hit all game. So Bulldog defense. I'll just focus on what I was just talking about a minute ago with the offensive line. The secondary hasn't really been tested this year. I think that's kind of the biggest question mark for this defense because they struggled against Auburn in the middle of the field, downfield, almost 300-plus yards, multiple big plays from the Auburn passing game of 15 to 20 yards. These guys had some success through the air. So if this offensive line can hold up a bit, we're going to find out some things about the secondary. Eventually we will as the season goes on. 1 week it's going to happen, whether that be in December in the SEC title game or on Saturday. You're eventually going to find out what the secondary is made of. Amir Speed and Christopher Smith coming back. Likely, they're both questionable. Latavius Brenny has played very well. I think Nyland Green, Keely Ringo, these guys are more than capable of stepping up and playing a good role. Darian Kendrick still finding his footing. They've battled injuries, all facets of their football team, including the secondary. I'm not overly concerned about this unit because coming into the year, we knew it was going to be kind of a question mark of a bunch of new faces. But again, they haven't been tested yet, so we'll see what happens. They're on pace for the third straight year to have the number one ranked rush defense. You look at Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Devontae Wyatt. These guys are massive. They're all 300-plus pounds. Great size, great motors. You can't get any better than this. It's like having 3 Aaron Donalds almost. These guys are just very impressive. They're game wreckers. Nakobe Dean, he's a great run stopper himself. At linebacker. Coming off the edge, Nolan Smith and Adam Anderson. All around, this front seven is just nothing but beasts. They're so hard to get the edge on, run through the tackles. You've never really been able to do it over the last 3 years. It's a little bit amped up this year. These guys are incredibly tough to get by. So that's the best way to do it, is make plays downfield, hold up, and pass protection. Get them to back up a little bit, start dropping linebackers, because Nakobe Dean's a phenomenal pass rusher, too, up through the middle. Just an all-around great playmaker. This defense, not enough things can be said. You're only giving up 3.5 yards per play. Just true, man. Very tough to get anything off these guys. They have allowed one drive the last 2 games. They've allowed one drive. That'll be a scoring drive. But other than that, they don't give up much. They might give up one score, whether that be in the first quarter or the fourth quarter. You'll probably expect to see that happen. But all around, 318 yards is the most they've given up all year long. So defense is just elite for Georgia. Looking at the Florida defense, kind of flipping the script a bit. They've struggled, especially against the run. Terry Davis-Price almost had 300 yards rushing. He set the LSU single-game record for running yards against this Florida defense the last time they took the field. They've been bad in space. Penetration's been tough to find over the last couple weeks. Ventrell Miller at linebacker, him being gone is really hurt. He's really a sideline-to-sideline guy. He does a lot of things for them. Mohamed Diabate has stepped up, but all around, they still miss that playmaking immensely. Pass rush has been kind of absent, I guess you could say. Outside of Zachary Carter, no one's really played that well. Brenton Cox has been a bit of a disappointment after a breakout season last fall. I like what they have on the interior in terms of size. Daquan Newkirk, Irvin Dexter. So they got the size covered. Those guys are second and third on the team in sacks, though. And they only have, 4.5 combined for the year, so they don't really have much of a pass rush presence. They're capable, though. I'll give them that. This front seven, the all-around defense has a good talent because the secondary's played very well this year. They only allowed 60+% completion-wise, only once, and that was against Alabama. So they've been very well. They're not amounting big plays downfield. I think Kiara Elam's having a good year. He's one of the best one-on-one corners in all of college football. Trey Dean back at safety. He's having a phenomenal season as well. I think, though, it's just going to have to start with the line of scrimmage. I don't think anyone's really too fazed by Georgia's passing attack, even though they have been good. They've been executing very well with what they want to do. But if you can control the line of scrimmage and force them to throw the ball a little bit more than they want to, you could probably force Bennett to be a little uncomfortable, because that we've not really found out this year is how will he handle the pressure if it's back on his shoulders again. So I think they're going to have to load up the box a little bit here, bring the intensity. Todd Grantham's going to have to dial up some of those fancy blitzes he likes to do. If they can get him to 3rd and long, that's really your best shot. Because I have faith in the secondary. I think they're going to make some plays, especially against a young receiving corps that's battling a lot of injuries. So for the defense, I think they're going to play much better in this game. But remains to be seen. I think they're very capable, though I think I'm giving them more credit than a lot of people are, but they are plenty capable. Looking at the team comparisons, I give the edge at quarterback and running back to Georgia, Stetson Bennett. He's just been a great game manager this year. In Florida, they have 2 quarterbacks. They've both been a little bit inconsistent at times. Emory Jones, 9 interceptions. Anthony Richardson, they're not giving him enough playing time, but he hasn't been perfect by any means either. Georgia has a QB competition of their own if JT Daniels comes back healthy, but I think a lot of people, there's more confidence right now in the Bulldog QB room than there is the Gators one, just because they're still going back and forth trying to find their guy. Their coach is failing to give commitment to anybody. Same could happen down the line for Georgia, but their guy's playing very well. He's doing what's asked of him, and there's no controversy really surrounding it at the moment. Running back, it's kind of even, honestly, with the depth they both have, but the Bulldogs, Zamir White is the best running back in this game. James Cook, Malik Davis is versatile himself. You saw what he did last year as a pass catcher, but James Cook, this guy is speedy, he's twitchy, he's athletic. I got to give the edge to the Bulldogs because they can hurt you, I feel like, in more ways than Florida can at running back. Receiver, I give it to UF. UGA's really beat up. Jake Copeland, Justin Shorter. It's a solid duo. I'd give the Gators credit for that. They have some solid depth as well. Georgia, when healthy, probably takes this one with flashing colors. Jermaine Burton's playing pretty well. But right now, they're just incredibly beat up. So I wouldn't freak out too much over it. I think the Gators have a bit of an edge right now at the moment, but it's not like it's overwhelming by any means. The offensive line, I'm talking about that left side of Schaefer and Schleyer for Georgia. These guys are massive. They're ugly. They do a lot of things in the trenches that teams are really just not going to be able to match up with. You saw against Arkansas, they got overwhelmed tremendously, pushing guys back on both sides of the ball. That's why the Bulldogs also get the nod at the defensive line by far. I don't even need to talk about that one. That's an obvious choice. Linebacker, Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, Trayvon Walker, he'll be coming off the edge. Same with Adam Anderson. All around, nothing but talent for the Bulldogs defense, especially at linebacker. The Gators, I give them a secondary edge. I just laid out the numbers a minute ago. They've been pretty good this season. Georgia, they didn't look great against Auburn, and they haven't really been tested this year, so I can't really give a full opinion on them when there's really not much to go off of because their front seven's been so dominant. No one has an opportunity to try to read a defense and make plays because they're on the ground. So right now, give it to the Gators. Georgia, though, they could have the nation's best secondary. You wouldn't know because they don't have an opportunity to make plays, but they haven't been bad by any means. I'll give them that, but a little shaky in my opinion. We'll see what happens in this ball game. Keys to the game for both teams, it's just control the line of scrimmage. For Florida, win the turnover battle as well. But overall, the LOS, that's going to be the dictation of this football game because that's what Georgia does. They overwhelm you in the trenches, and they just make it impossible to do anything. You have to win in that facet of the game, or you're not going to do very well on Saturday. That's where it starts. If you can neutralize Georgia a little bit, if you can neutralize that defensive line a little bit, give your quarterback some time to make plays, that's going to be your best bet. You also don't want to get torched on the ground either, so you need to be able to get some good leverage there too. So overall, the winner of the line of scrimmage will likely win this game. I'm going to pick Georgia 37-13, pretty wide margin, which is crazy because I keep saying how I think Florida's going to play a very good game. I think they're going to be much better and this time around. It's going to be a very close first half, at least I think. I do think Georgia will pull away here in the second, though. Florida, I think they're going to start making a little bit more mistakes. They're going to be forced to throw the ball a little bit more than they would like to. 13 points, being generous. It's really hard to assume anything more against this Georgia defense, but I do think it could be closer than even what I'm predicting, so I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, but I'm going to take Georgia by a pretty wide margin. This team's not playing around this year, so let's wrap everything up. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time.